Hey Rujuta, so you're talking about Security Plus. Now, I actually like Security Plus a lot. So I say go for it. But I get it when people say they don't like Security Plus, and I kind of wanted to talk about why. First off, you have to kind of understand the way CompTIA does certifications. Basically, it's a channel: A plus, Net plus, Security plus, Pen Test, CISA, CASP. That's a traditional pathway. Once you couple that with Linux Plus, Server Plus, Cloud Plus, and any of these other ones like Project Plus and Certified Technical Trainer, the idea is to create basically a well-rounded person over about 5 years. You're supposed to couple these with other certifications. So you might do an Amazon cert and a Windows cert and a Red Hat cert and a Google cert, and you mix and match as you follow the career path for CompTIA so that you get good technical specialization skills in things like Google or Cisco or whatever, and then you get good rounded skills from CompTIA. So by the end, you have project management skills. You know enough Linux, you know enough server, you know enough cloud, you know enough pen testing or defense. Security Plus falls under a core skills, meaning it's basics. So it's not going to help you find a job. So I went and looked it up. Currently, there are only 52 jobs basically out there who refer to it. It's not bad. It's not very good either. You're going to find a lot better results with things like Red Hat, Amazon, that kind of stuff. So if job as soon as possible is your goal, I can't recommend Security Plus to you. However, it's a fun cert, and you can actually get a lot from it, well beyond its ability to search on Indeed or Dice or whatever like that. It's actually a great cert that helps you build towards more advanced certifications and actual practical hands-on skills. But you have to dig deeper in order for that to be real. I really believe that in 30 to 50 hours, if you crack down right now and put 10 hours a day for the next week, probably by the time the coronavirus, they're letting us go take tests again, you can pass. I really believe that, and that that's not even an issue. You just watch some videos, you do a lot of questions and answers you find online, you're going to pass. But I want to see you invest another 100 to 200 hours in labs. And this is because I know you both from a professional and a personal point of view, that more hands-on time is critical. You have to get experience. You have to have what I call interview mindset or CERT mindset. That no one's going to ask you to explain PKI. No one is going to ask you to explain certificate exchange or Diffie-Hellman. You have to imagine you go into the interview. They sit you down in front of a computer and say, I want you to set up this certificate. I want you to make this firewall change. I want you to fix this supplicant. Why is it not working in a 8021X situation? And if you can't do those things, then why did you do the certification? For fun? Okay, maybe. But we should focus on a practical approach first, not certification first. If you need a job as soon as possible and want to make your resume look as good as possible, CompTIA is probably not the certification for you. It's going to be Amazon. It's going to be Microsoft. It's going to be Google. It's going to be all those more specifics. CompTIA is meant to be sort of a buffer to help round your existing skills off. But you can get a lot of experience at home. Why we're doing Corona, why we don't have jobs. There's so much experience you can get if you take the time to get a lab. I'd recommend if you do go Security Plus, you're going to build a small Cisco lab, and you're going to maybe get a couple old Windows laptops or use virtual machines. Your decision. Depends on what level. I believe the more hardware, the more hands-on, the more realistic you can make it, it's better. But a couple of these Cisco 2621XMs and a couple of these 3550s. And if you do decide to use virtual machines, 4 or 5 of these USB to NICs, because you can make the virtual machine in your computer plug in to the USB, so you have Ethernet, and you can put your individual virtual machines right into your switches, so you can simulate really complex environments. I recommend getting something called All Windows, which is kind of it's not technically like something you can just go download. I'll point you to where you can get it later. But Windows 2003 looks just like Windows 2016 in the interface, except it runs really fast on old computers, so it's still useful. So let me keep going down this list here before I run out of time I can put on YouTube. There we go. So I'm going to recommend CBT Nuggets to you for learning. And when you do sign up for CBT Nuggets, I want you to make sure that you go over here and they have something called coaching, learner community of accountability coaching. There it is. I don't know if you can see that on the video. But there's a guy named Blake. Ask for him. There's a couple of them over there. And what he is, he's a coach, just like Hannah put us in that training class. He's going to set a roadmap with you, see what's realistic. Is 10 hours a week realistic? Is 100 hours worth realistic? Your life, right? You have kids, you got things you got to take care of. Let's create some real accountability and feedback loops and hold you to some accountability. So they offer that. Plus, they have the old A Plus and Net Plus. Remember I went up here? I showed you this channel. They have all this material on there. So if you do in a situation where you need to dig deeper, maybe you forget something from networking, you forget something from computer hardware or server hardware or Linux commands or Windows commands, they have those materials available for you to refer back to at no additional cost once you've paid the base. Most importantly, they have the old CCNA security. CCNA security and the CompTIA Security Plus have 70% overlap. But the CCNA security is a practical job skill. When you're done with that, you can actually take routers, take switches, and configure them. When you complete CompTIA, you're going to know about it, but you won't know how. You're not going to know show IP interface. You're not going to show how to do an access list. You're not going to know any of that. But if you do the CCNA alongside CCNA security, which is a dead certification, no one even does it anymore, but that's fine. That's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you want to be good at the basics of security. So use this CCNA security material directly adjacent, like I mentioned up here, directly adjacent with this path. So you're gaining a technical skill alongside the generalized concepts. Okay? So let me see, it's doing okay for time. The important thing here is labs, labs, labs. I really don't want to hear like, oh, I need this certification, I need this certification. Okay, I mean, that's fine. If you need certification, there's boot camps. There's ways to do it, but I wouldn't recommend a CompTIA because a CompTIA is not for job finding. CompTIA is for more filling in some gaps, some concepts, and bridging your long-term career goals. Do a lab, dig deeper. You have to be this has to be 90% on a keyboard, making mistakes, getting curious. It really does. I really recommend you read the book before you even pick any certification right now, okay? Before you decide, oh, I don't want to do Security Plus, I want to do Amazon, I want to do this, I want to do that. All those things are fine. But the most important thing here is this book right here. It's for the CCIE, which is a high-end Cisco certification, but it's really not. It's not a technical book. What this is how to run a lab in your home or on the cloud or whatever. It doesn't matter. It tells you how to take a lab and make it practical so you can take those skills to work with you. Otherwise, some people, they just do the lab and they go to the next chapter. They do the lab, they go to the next chapter. And that's better than not doing labs. But we want to make sure he has a system in there that's going to really show you how to do a lab 3-4 times, but each time you get more from it. It's going to talk about inventing your own labs, how to get curious. I really, really, really want to see you hit at least 100 hours of lab time before you even start thinking about the test. So maybe 4 hours a day for a couple months. I put 3 books here for you. The first book here is the CCNA Security Lab Manual. It's like $5. And you can use this book and it teaches you how to set up a Cisco environment with some basic security. It's last generation, yeah, that's 100% true. But it's first off, it's still out there in the real world. You're going to see this in the real world. But it also lets you get really hands-on, more experience with Cisco, real equipment in the real world. There's a newer version of this book, but it doesn't matter, right? Get the older one, save $10 because it's more about the experience and having the, and if you get the newer one, the hardware is going to be more expensive, right? You're going to have to, instead of a $200 router, you have to, or a $50 router, you have to buy a $200 router. So you want to have something. This is fine. This is literally the stuff I learned on. The second one here is, this is again, it's outdated. It's 70298, Designing Security for a Microsoft 2003 Network. This applies to all the way from 2003 all the way to 2012, so it's not that out of date. But this will tell you how to build a PKI, how to build Active Directory, use root policies, harden operating systems. It's going to cover everything you need, okay? The cool thing about when you're using these sorts of lab books, you don't have to be like, oh, this lab's too outdated, and you can get rid of it. but most of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, these labs still matter. Okay? And you can come back, bounce around. The way to approach these labs is really, really well covered in this securing, I'm sorry, where'd it go? Your CCIE success strategy. Again, it says CCIE, but don't even read that word. It's your success strategy for running a lab. These 3 books, right? So we're going to come down here. So I'm just going to close out here real quick. But I need you to love the process. Whatever certification you decide, whether it's CompTIA or Amazon or whatever, first off, hit me up. Happy to help. But look for coaching, right? You have the CBT Nuggets coaching, your friends. You reached out to me. You reached out to Austin, right? Those are all great resources. But have a mission to help others. It's not just about, like, I want a job. I want more money. It's about, I want to help get people into tech. I want to help donate more money to the poor. I want to be a CISO so I could be a better CISO than the one that treated me bad and laid my team off. It's when you do something for someone who's other than yourself, and you probably know this, you have a kid, you put more into helping other people than you do yourself sometimes, right? This is why that works. Don't feel like, oh, I'm too good, my house is too clean, my room is too nice, I don't want to crawl on the ground. You got to get under there. You got to be moving routers. You got to be moving switches, running cables, plugging things in, cussing at it. Give yourself a couple bruises and scratches. Get the hands on. Because if you don't look like you know what you're doing in an interview and they say move that switch over there and plug it in, or the first time they send you to a data center and say rack and stack it, and you don't know how to do that, don't let the first time you walk to a data center or have to plug a switch in be the first time you've ever done that. Should be done at home where you have all the time in the world to figure it out and get good at it. Make mistakes. Make more mistakes than successes. Be angry. Be frustrated. Slow down. Learn why. Learn more than you need to know to pass the test. Because, like I told you, I believe you can pass this test in a week. That's not the issue. The issue is, who cares? No one's going to ask you if you could pass a test on an interview. No one's going to ask you when the website's under attack, or there's hackers involved, or there's some sort of patching issue that you have to roll back and work with the security and a release team to get it fixed. No one cares that you had Security Plus. They care that you know how to fix it, to roll back the firmware on a switch, to roll back an access list, to undo a security group policy or ADMX. That's what they care about. So that's why it's so critical that you've got to get hands-on. Dig deep. Get into there. Just understand everything. Right now, especially online, it's even better than it was 10 years ago. There's communities that do online webinars, seminars. There's Cisco forums, techexams.net, places you can get involved, ask questions, get questions answered, and then help other people. This is a great way for you to get known in the community for when you do put your resume out there. And most importantly, fall in love with what you're doing. If you don't love messing with stuff, this is why it's so important to have physical hardware and touch things for reals. If you don't love doing that stuff, how far will you get? If it's just you want to get the best search you can get in the shortest amount of time to make the most amount of money, it's not CompTIA. It's going to be AWS. It's going to be Cisco. It's going to be Microsoft. I think everyone knows that. If you really want to just make the most money, it's like AWS architecture and CCIE. But that's not all there is to a career, right? There are other components, like we pointed out up here. This builds a complete person. So they can do project manager, they can manage, they can teach, they can train, they can do networking, desktop, OS, cloud, penetration testing. This builds you over a 5-year plan to be really good at what you do. Anyhow, take care. I'll talk to you later.